I was looking at the app I like to use to find free equipment when I saw the ad for this string trimmer. They were also giving away other free items including a chainsaw, but we'll talk about that one later on. Right now, we'll focus on this string trimmer and figure out why it was given away, but by the way it looks, they must have given up on it. Now hopefully we can fix it, and if all goes well, sell it and maybe make a couple of bucks. In today's video, we're going to be looking at this newer style Ryobi string trimmer, and the problem is that it won't start. It was found on the curb along with other equipment, which is typically the universal sign that it wasn't worth it for them to fix it. Now most times, consumers will put these away for storage with fuel in the tank, but since this one was empty, it could mean it hasn't been used in a long time. There is that rare chance that they might have ran it until the fuel tank was empty, but that's not always the case. But before we dive into this project, I would like to find the sticker that has the model and serial number on it. The reason why is because if we need to buy parts for it, we'll have the information we need to find the right ones. And with it missing the air filter, not to mention the cover for it, we'll definitely need that information. Now before we try starting this engine, it's always good practice to slowly pull on the rope to make sure the engine is not worn out, because if it is, there will be no chance of it starting. And the good news is that this one is fighting back quite well, which means the engine is not worn out, so we'll prime it with some fuel and see if it starts and runs. And the good news is that it started and ran for quite a long time. That means the engine has spark and is definitely not worn out. But what if it didn't start and run? Well, if that happened, I would test for spark using a spark checker or even the spark plug. Now if there is spark, then you'll have to check the compression, because even though there might be some, it may not be enough for the engine to start and run. And because this has a 2-stroke engine, the correct mixture of oil and fuel is critical in keeping the engine from wearing out. But after some time, the wear could get bad enough that the engine could have problems starting reliably. But by the way this engine started and how it sounded while it was running, I don't think we have to worry about that problem. So there are plenty of other reasons why your engine wouldn't start, but a very common one is that there could be too much fuel in it. And if your engine gets flooded with too much fuel, you'll have to try using some unflooding techniques to get it to start. But the best way would be to take out the spark plug and pull on the rope several times while the engine is turned upside down. Using this method will help to get out any extra fuel from the engine, and at the same time allows the fuel to dry off from the spark plug too. And after that, you can either let the engine dry off in the sun, or you can replace the spark plug and try starting the engine, but just make sure not to choke the carb. I would also recommend holding the trigger down, that way a lot of air can make it into the engine and help dry it out. This will be good information when you try to get your 2-stroke out for the first time this spring, because that's how so many of them end up on the curb. And after a quick spray and rinse, we'll let it dry off in the sun before we start to look at the fuel system. Now since we know the engine does start and run, however it did nothing when trying to start it with fuel in the tank, there must be something wrong with the fuel or the carb. And since the fuel that's in the tank now is my own personal fuel that I've tested and known to be good, the carb is the most likely suspect here. The fuel lines are also very dark in color, which typically means they're now old and brittle, so it's probably a good idea to replace them as well. Now for some reason, these bolts that hold the carb to the engine were really stuck, and if I had to guess, I'd say someone put Loctite on them. I didn't show them, but the threads on the bolts looked like they had some kind of thread locker on them. The interesting part is that I think someone mistakenly used thread locker on the wrong bolts, as you're going to see here later on. So here's the carb, and I'll let you know, I don't care for these barrel style carbs, and you'll understand why when we get this back onto the engine. But I will admit, taking these apart is a lot easier since it's just taking out these 4 long bolts. Now this purge bulb is not broken, but when they get this dark in color, it's only a matter of time before it does break, so it's a good idea to go ahead and replace it. So what we're looking for is the metering diaphragm, since its job is to control fuel flow through the carb. And to do that, it needs to be flexible so it can work the arm underneath it. However, this one is not only stiff but also misshapen. That means it's not going to allow any fuel to get to the engine and why it wouldn't start for us. So there are plenty of other reasons why this carb wouldn't allow fuel to get to the engine, one of which is a bad pumping diaphragm or a clog in one of the tiny passages, but that is very rare. Now the pumping diaphragm on this carb looks to be in great condition, however the rest of the carb looks to be quite dirty, so we'll need to do a thorough cleaning on it. And to do that, we need to take it mostly apart the best we can and use the ultrasonic cleaner. Now you can do this job with a can of carb cleaner and compressed air, but there's a good chance you'll have to clean it for quite a while. So how did the carb get this dirty? Well, one way would be a missing fuel filter, but since ours was still in place, we'll have to chalk it up to the missing air filter. Look at it this way, if there was a filter in place, it's probably important that it be there, so try not to use a machine without one. So here comes my first excuse, and that is the screw to release the rocker arm will not come loose and I don't want to damage it by forcing it. Taking out that screw was important because it would allow us a better cleaning of the needle and seat. So instead, I'm going to trust the ultrasonic cleaner to be able to overcome that obstacle. However, this is going to come back to bite us in the end. So do you remember me saying that someone put thread locker on the wrong bolts? Well, here is where I think they messed up. So as you just saw, the plastic insulator on the engine was loose because one of the bolts had backed out, which can cause some serious running problems. I'll just snug it down for now and come back later once we know this machine is working like it should be. Next, we'll tackle those horrible fuel lines, and I'm not going to worry about taking them out in one piece. We just need to get them out of the way so we can install the new ones. As you can see, the fuel filter was still connected to the fuel line, and it's also in good enough condition to be reused after a quick cleaning, of course. Before we install the lines, we need to make sure the fuel tank is empty of any broken lines and then start the process of installing our new lines. So the fuel lines I'm going to be using are 3/16 of an inch outside diameter, but yours might be different. Just make sure the fuel lines you install are not too small in diameter, otherwise they won't seal against the openings and you'll have a fuel leak. So if you do have a fuel leak from the fuel line or anywhere else on the fuel system, do not use the machine until it gets fixed. The last thing you want to do is catch on fire because of a simple fuel leak. Now as far as the fuel line arrangement out of the fuel tank, well, it's really up to you. You can install them the way they were or you can change it. It really doesn't matter which opening is for which line, however, some may not like it since you might end up crossing the fuel lines later on. So after back flushing the fuel filter with some carb cleaner, we installed it onto our first fuel line and then pushed it back into the fuel tank. However, just make sure the filter is sitting in a good spot in the tank, that way it'll be able to pick up as much fuel as possible. The last fuel line we'll be installing is of course the shorter fuel return line, but you're welcome to make it as long as you want it to be. But just be aware that you'll be wasting fuel line if you make the portion in the fuel tank longer than 1 inch. So here are the parts out of the ultrasonic cleaner, and they look a whole lot nicer when compared to what they looked like before. Just remember the dirt we need to clean out is not going to be visible since they'll be hiding in those tiny passages in the carb. We'll of course be installing a new metering diaphragm, but in a pinch you can try to rejuvenate the bad one after soaking it for a couple of days. One reason to do this is if you can't find the one you need, or you simply don't want to pay the money for a new one. I know it sounds crazy to try and save $6 by saving the old diaphragm, but that is the choice to make. But I see it the same way when trying to save one of these carbs instead of buying a new one, which will cost you about $14 from the aftermarket. But to be completely honest, with them being so cheap, it just makes sense to replace them and save all your precious time instead of doing what I'm doing. So if you want to save $14, all you need to do is have a can of carb cleaner handy, not to mention some compressed air, some rejuvenation fluid, and about 15 minutes of your time. However, that's on the assumption that you'll get it clean enough to get it working right, otherwise if you don't, you'll have to do it again. If you hadn't figured it out, that was a bit of foreshadowing, but then again, I was kind of prepared for it. And once the carb is back together, we'll finally install it onto the engine. Just make sure there's a gasket between the carb and the plastic insulator, otherwise you're going to have some problems starting it. It's unfortunate that we don't have the foam air filter or the cover for it, but we'll worry about that once we know the trimmer works like it should be. Next, we'll cut the fuel lines roughly to length and then connect them to the carb. So when connecting the fuel lines to the carb, the fuel return line will connect to the brass port further away from the bulb, while the fuel filter line will connect to the one closer to it. Making sure these lines are connected the way they're supposed to be is extremely important, otherwise the carb will eventually be clogged with debris from the fuel tank. But to be absolutely sure, we'll put some fuel into the tank and do a flow test of the fuel system. And if it fails, we can fix it now before trying to start the engine and end up flooding it. Otherwise, it could make your first start after the service very frustrating. So when pressing on the purge bulb, fuel will come up the filter line, enter the carb, then fill the bulb, and then leave the carb through the return line. And as you can see, fuel is flowing just like it should be, which means the lines are connected the right way and the carb seems to be working too, so we'll try and start it. Well, that didn't turn out like we wanted it to. Now because we turned out the idle screw when taking the carb apart, we'll turn it back in some and try it again. Unfortunately, that didn't help out as much as I was wanting it to, and because it seems like the problem only shows up once the choke is turned off, it means we have a fuel problem. The engine would start and run while the carb was mostly choked. However, once in the halfway position, the engine was struggling to stay running. That means we need to adjust the carb to deliver more fuel, or there's still one tiny clog in the carb we need to clear. The main problem is that this style of carb isn't always adjustable. If you look in the middle of the brass section on top of the barrel, we should see a tiny screw head there. However, we don't see one because I think it's the kind that shears off after setting it. But if it was there, it would allow us to adjust the position of this needle in the nozzle it sits in. The lower the needle position, the less fuel will leave the carb, which of course means the higher it is, the more fuel will get to the engine. Now there are some tricks you can do to get around this issue, but they are very permanent, which means we won't be able to adjust it anymore. We're not going to do that today. Instead, I'm going to throw the carb back into the ultrasonic cleaner one more time and see if it helps out. I was also finally able to remove that stuck screw, which should help out tremendously. And will you look at that, a second more thorough cleaning is exactly what it needed. The carb now seems to be working like it should without having to make any adjustments. Now typically, I don't ever go back for another cleaning because most times it never works out, but since I had the time, I tried it, and this time it worked out great. Now to be honest, I also had a brand new carb on order just in case it didn't work out, so I guess I'll just keep that one in stock for the next one that shows up. But here's the problem. You probably don't have a spare metering diaphragm laying around, nor do you have an ultrasonic cleaner. And in that case, I would just recommend replacing the carb for a very low price instead of doing what I just did. Of course, if you like the challenge, then be my guest, just don't be surprised by the outcome. So my question is, would you have just replaced the carb, or would you try cleaning this one instead? Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or about your own projects, and I hope to see you in the next video.